I think the most important story of the day, part where we really try to let you know how the government actually works. So you remember the disaster, of course, in West Virginia with the mine, 25 killed. They're still looking for the 4 others that are missing. One of the worst disasters in mining history in the last 25 years. The company involved was Massey Energy. Their CEO is Don Blankenship. Now you are going to find out the story behind them. We already knew that they had 57 violations in the last month alone. They had millions of dollars of fines, which at this point they were largely ignoring. And a lot of these were for safety violations. And in fact, the government was worried that they didn't have the proper fans to let out the gas. And it turns out they didn't, and it blew up, okay? So how did Massey, throughout all this time, avoid massive fines for the things that they've done wrong and the safety violations, et cetera? Well, it really helps if you wind up buying the government. Turns out that, of course, the CEO, Don Blankenship, is a right-wing activist millionaire who gives a tremendous amount of money to, you're going to be really surprised, the Republican Party. And what does he get for his money? That's the really important issue. And then how does it affect what's happened so far? Number one, during the Bush years, what Bush did was he took Massey COO, Chief Operating Officer, Stanley Sobolewski, and named him Commissioner of Federal Mine Safety and Health Review Commission in 2003. So this is exactly what I told you about earlier. What Bush would do is take the guys who are in the industry and put them in charge of regulating the industry. And you're going to be shocked to find out that they wouldn't, right? So, but wait till you hear what happened to Sobolewski afterwards. He was also nominated in 2007 to run the Energy Department's Office of Fossil Energy, and on it goes. You want to know where Sobolewski is now? He's back on the board of Massey making a lot of money. Really? Wow, that's so surprising. So he starts out with the company, he goes in, makes sure there's no regulations of the company and the rest of the industry, comes back out and gets a lot of money from that same company for not regulating them earlier. And that's how this merry-go-round goes around. There were other people in the industry. Another executive for Massey was this guy named Dick Stigler. And in the 1990s, he not only saw the Massey subsidiary Performance Coal, but also Beth Energy Mines, which incurred injury rates double the national average. And of course, for having such a terrible safety record, Bush nominated him, and he could not get past the Senate. So in 2006, Bush did a recess appointment, and then again in 2008, he named him acting secretary as a recess appointment expired. So even if the Senate didn't agree, Bush just took those industry guys and put them in power. Now, what effect did that have? Well, that's the unfortunate part. Well, a couple of disasters have already hit Massey Mines. One was the October 2000 coal slurry spill. They spilled 300 million gallons of black toxic sludge into the headwaters of Coldwater Creek and Wolf Creek. 3 times larger than the Exxon Valdez spill. Did you guys hear about that? Maybe some of you heard about it, but it didn't get a lot of press. Well, Jesus, I'll tell you what though, they got a $2.4 billion fine. $2.4 billion. So what am I talking about? Turns out they couldn't buy the politicians. The Bush people were true to their word. Oh, that didn't stick. Huh, really? Well, in 2002, U.S. Secretary of Labor Elaine Chao, remember she's Secretary of Labor, supposed to be helping the workers, right? She actually takes over and says, you know what, I think their fine should be $5,600. And she kicks over to her husband, Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Republicans in the Senate. He's the leader now. He was in leadership at the time, okay? And they decide, yeah, let's shake on it, $5,600. Now, eventually, I mean, that's so egregious, they can't get away with it. The EPA files suit, and eventually Massey settles in court for $20 million. $20 million sounds like a lot, right? But the Republicans were trying to get away with $5,000. Unbelievable. All right, anyway, $20 million sounds like a lot, right? But when you cause $2 billion worth of damages that the state has to pick up and the taxpayers have to pick up, $20 million is nothing. Ding, nothing. All right, so they do tremendous damage to the environment. But they never caused the deaths of anybody before, right? How about the Aracoma mine fire, also from Massey's Aracoma Coal Company? That happened in 2006, and they had to plead guilty in court, the company did, to 10 criminal charges, including 1 felony, and pay a $2.5 million fine in criminal fines. And eventually they also paid $1.7 million in civil fines. Why was that? Because 2 people were burned alive when they ignored safety violations. Now, how were they allowed to ignore safety violations? Why are those 2 people burned to death? Well, funny enough, it turns out days before the fire broke out in the Aracoma mine, a federal mine inspector tried to close down that section of the mine. So they closed it down, right? No, of course not. The guys that Bush put in as the superiors, who are now part of the industry, overruled that guy. He was told by the superior, the mine inspector was, told by the superior to, quote, back off and let them run coal, that there was too much demand for coal and that they should just go ahead and run it. And a couple of days later, a couple of guys burn up alive. They knew it was there. They knew the problem was there. And they do it all the time. And then they think, what difference does it make? We pay a little fine here and a little fine there. Our main job is to run coal. Here's Blankenship, the CEO of the company, wrote this memo at the same time, a couple of months before the fire broke out. He wrote, if any of you have been asked by your group presidents, your supervisors, engineers, or anyone else to do anything other than run coal, you need to ignore them and run coal. This memo is necessary only because we seem not to understand that coal pays the bills. So if you got a supervisor or an engineer or a mine inspector who's a pain in your ass, ignore them. You got safety violations, ignore them. And if a couple people burn alive, who cares? We'll sweep it up under the rug, okay? In fact, we have Blankenship in June of '06, that same year, talking to the press and telling them, oh, don't worry, safety violations. Clip number 7.
Are you concerned that the safety regulations or the safety factors in your industry, particularly through Massey, are being complied with?
Well, they're very difficult to comply with. There's so many of the laws that are, if you will, nonsensical from an engineering or a coal mining viewpoint. A lot of the politicians get emotional, as does the public, about the most recent accident, and it's easy to get laws on the books that are not truly helping the health or safety of coal miners. And I think we need to be very pragmatic and very careful when we're passing laws of that nature to make sure that we create as much safety and as much health as can be created for each of the resources we expend.
You feel you have a good safety record at Massey?
Well, it's been 19 the last 20 years. It's been far better than the industry average. We've had very good success on the safety and the environmental side.
That was in June of '06. In January of '06 is when the guys burned alive. Oh, he's like, you know, people are over-focusing on that. Well, at the time that they burned alive, they already had 25 violations of mandatory health and safety laws. Now, he swept it under the rug. The government allowed him to do that. The Republicans and Bush allowed him to do that. And guess what happened? When you build up something that's wrong and you let it go and you let it go, it blows up. And in this case, it literally blew up. And now 25 or 29 more people have died at those same mines with those same violations that were ignored time and time again. This is how the rich in this country and corporate America, not all the rich and not all the corporations, but some, go and buy your government. They buy Republicans, they buy Democrats. Now, as it turns out, Republicans play ball a lot better than Democrats do. That's why historically they've gotten a lot more donations from these guys. So Republicans are much worse at this, and this is the perfect example. But it's not like the Democrats have clean hands. This is how these people buy our government, and you should be sick of it. And there's got to be a balance of reason to this. There's got to be a moment where we say, enough is enough. We got to take back our government so it represents us and not the Don Blankenships of the world, not the Massey Energies of the world. There's a reason why we need government. It's supposed to protect us, whether that's national security or your local police department or your local fire department or regulators who say, hey, you know what? Put a fan in your mind so the gas doesn't build up and blow up and kill all those people. And then Blankenship will come up afterwards and go, what? Our safety record is fine. A lot of drama in the press over people dying. Who cares? Do you know how much more money I made last year? Their attitude is repulsive. I don't know when we're going to stop taking it in this country.
Watch more clips at theyoungturks.com.